This is Anne. Anne was a widow who lived all alone in a small mud hut left behind by her late husband. Her husband died many years ago, and sadly, they never had any children together. As the years passed, Anne grew older and weaker. Her hair had turned gray, and her once beautiful face now carried deep lines of sorrow and pain. She often sat alone outside her little hut, staring into the sky or looking down at the dry ground. Many times, tears would quietly roll down her cheeks as she whispered to herself, "What is left for me in this life? No child, no husband, just pain and silence." Anne had no one to talk to, no one to laugh with, no one to call her mother or wife. Her days were filled with quiet tears, and her nights were worse. She couldn't sleep peacefully. Instead, she would turn from one side of the mat to the other, crying softly and wishing for just a little joy before her life ended. People in the village were very cruel to her. Whenever she stepped outside to fetch water or buy something, children would point at her and laugh. Women would whisper behind her back. Some would even shout at her in public, calling her a witch. That old woman is the reason she has no children. She ate up her babies in her womb with witchcraft. She killed her husband. Their words were sharp like knives. They broke her heart every single time. But Anne never fought back. She never replied. She would just walk back slowly to her hut, close the door, sit on the floor, and cry until her eyes were sore. She felt hopeless. She believed that no man would ever look at her again because of her age. She believed she had no value anymore. Nobody visited her, nobody checked on her. Her life was full of silence, tears, and loneliness. But even in all the sadness, Anne never gave up completely. Deep in her heart, she still whispered small prayers, hoping that one day something would change. Maybe someone, somewhere would show her kindness. Maybe there was still a reason to smile again. Little did Anne know, her story was just beginning. The proposal in the forest. After all the pain and sorrow Anne had faced, she began to find comfort in the quiet forest near her village. Every day, she would leave her little hut and walk deep into the woods. She would sit alone under a large tree where the air was calm and peaceful. The birds would sing softly, and the wind would blow gently through the leaves. Anne would sit there for hours, thinking about her life. She thought about how she never had children, how her husband died and left her all alone, how people in the village called her a witch and treated her like nothing. Sometimes she even told herself, "I don't belong with people. Maybe I should live with the animals, since they don't judge me." One quiet afternoon, as Anne sat in her usual spot in the forest, crying softly and talking to herself, something unexpected happened. A young man with a strong build and kind eyes walked towards her. He was dressed like a hunter, holding a bow in his hand. He walked slowly, then suddenly dropped to his knees before her. "Please," the young man said, "marry me and complete my life. I love you." Anne jumped in shock. "Are you okay?" she asked, thinking he had come to mock her. "Do you know who you're talking to? I'm an old woman. Please don't make fun of me. I come here for peace. Don't take that away from me too." But the man gently shook his head. "No, Mama. I'm not here to mock you. I'm here because you are the woman I've been looking for. You are the love of my life. You are the mother of my unborn children." Anne was speechless. She stared at the man with wide eyes. The man smiled and explained, "My name is Peter. I am not just a hunter. I am the king of a nearby town. I disguised myself as a hunter because I wanted to find a true woman, a woman with a kind heart. A seer once told me that I would find my wife in the forest. He said she would be a woman who comes here to cry, a woman who has been rejected by the world, but loved by the spirits. The seer said, 'You are the one. You will give me children and be my queen.'" Anne was still in shock. Could this be real? For many years she believed her life was over. She believed no man could ever look at her again. She believed she was too old, too broken, too forgotten. But now, here was this young nobleman kneeling before her, calling her his queen. Tears filled Anne's eyes, not tears of sadness, but tears of surprise and hope. She asked softly, "Do you really mean this?" Peter nodded. "Yes, I do, from the bottom of my heart." For the first time in many years, Anne smiled. Her heart, which had been heavy for so long, began to feel light again. Slowly she stretched her hand forward and said, "Yes, I will marry you." Peter shouted with joy. He stood up and danced around her. Thank you, my queen," he said. Anne looked at him and whispered, "Maybe my life is not over after all." The Queen's new beginning. After Anne said yes to Peter's proposal in the forest, her life took a complete turn. Peter stood up, took her by the hand, and led her gently through the trees, across rivers, and over hills. Anne followed him quietly, still wondering if everything was real or just a sweet dream. Soon, they arrived at a large gate made of shining gold and silver. Soldiers stood on both sides, and as they saw Peter, they quickly bowed in respect. The gates opened wide. Anne's mouth dropped open in shock. Before her stood the most beautiful palace she had ever seen in her entire life. The buildings sparkled in the sunlight. There were flowers everywhere, clean walkways, and people in royal clothes moving about happily. Servants came and greeted her with smiles, calling her "my queen." Peter smiled and said to her, "Welcome home, my queen. This is your palace now." Anne looked around in amazement. Could this truly be for me? She wondered. Just weeks ago she was crying in a small hut, rejected by the world. Now she was being treated like royalty. Peter showed her around the palace, her bedroom, the gardens, the royal hall, and even a quiet room where she could sit and pray or rest whenever she wanted. Every day felt like a dream. Weeks passed, and it was finally time for their wedding. It was a grand celebration. Friends, nobles, villagers, and people from far and wide came to witness the joyful union. There was music, dancing, and laughter everywhere. Food and drinks were in plenty. The people cheered and clapped as Peter and Anne stood before them, smiling with joy and love in their hearts. Anne was dressed in a royal gown that sparkled like the stars. Her face glowed with happiness, something she hadn't felt in many years. After the wedding, King Peter and Queen Anne became the most loved rulers in the land. They lived happily together, with so much love and understanding between them. Peter respected Anne deeply, and Anne loved Peter with all her heart. They spent their days ruling wisely, helping the poor, and bringing peace to their people. One day, something miraculous happened. Anne discovered that she was pregnant. She could not believe it. A woman who had once been called a dry tree, who was mocked and insulted for being childless, was now carrying a child. Anne cried tears of joy as she knelt down and thanked God. "My God," she said, "you remembered me. You gave me love, a home, and now, a child." Her belly grew with joy, and the entire kingdom celebrated with her. It was truly a miracle. And so Queen Anne and King Peter lived happily ever after. From pain to peace, from tears to joy, Anne's story reminds us that it's never too late for a new beginning. Moral lessons. 1. Never give up on life. Even when it feels like all hope is lost, something beautiful can still happen. 2. Age is not the end. Love, joy, and purpose can find you at any time, no matter how old you are. 3. Don't judge people by their past. Everyone deserves a second chance and kindness. 4. Your pain doesn't define you. Anne's past was painful, but her future was filled with joy. 5. God's timing is always perfect. What is impossible for man is possible with God. Thank you message to viewers. Thank you, my beautiful viewers, for watching this heart-touching story from beginning to end. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, like, comment, and share this story with others who need a little hope. More inspiring stories are coming your way. Stick around, and you won't regret it. God bless you all.